The purpose of Wealth Talk is to educate, inform, and hopefully entertain you on the subject of building your wealth. WealthBuilders recommends you should always take independent financial, tax, or legal advice before making any decisions around your finances.
Hello, welcome to episode 25 of Wealth Talk. My name is Christian Rodwell, the Membership Director for WealthBuilders, and I'm joined by Mr. Kevin Whelan, the founder. How are you, Kevin?
I'm good today, thanks. Looking forward to a Scorchio day tomorrow, going off to play golf at the Belfry. So you caught me at a good time, ready to dispense any wisdoms. Mind you, it's not my wisdom we're dispensing today, is it, Chris?
We're shining the spotlight on some of our founder members today, actually, because it's just coming up to nearly 3 months, actually, since we first launched the foundation program, and the time has flown by. And we thought we'd dedicate this episode to reflect and look at some of the successes that some of our members have had in that short space of time.
I mean, it's shocking, isn't it? What 3 months can do? I mean, 3 little months that will easily slip by if you're not paying attention, you know. But look at what these guys are doing. And you picked 4 or 5 people to share their story, but this could have been replicated 10, 15 times, really. So it's just brilliant. I'm so happy that people are getting things done, which at the end of the day, Chris, wealth is about taking action. It's not about thinking about taking action. It's not about being interested in being wealthy. It's about showing commitment. And I'm so delighted that these guys are just kicking the nuts out of the whole thing. They're just really going for it, and I love that.
Yeah, indeed. And one thing that has come up a lot has been the mention of drifting, which was, back in episode 2 when we did the 3Ds. And it really has resonated with people, and especially our founders. And they often refer in the Facebook group, about, I think I might be drifting a little bit. And of course, the whole purpose of the foundation program is not to let you drift. So we're in there, we're here to support and make sure that, as you always say, Kevin, never let 30 days go by without doing something to build your wealth.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a big thing, and some of the people will share some stories where they've managed to save lots of money and do some things that would have made a big difference. But even a small thing, gives you momentum, makes you feel like you're not getting stuck on the fence, and that's painful, being sat on a fence for a long time. It's just a good thing to do something small and document that, and that's probably something we've got to do, Chris, the fantastic Wealth Builder monthly wall chart to help people take their actions and then have pauses for celebrations with their buddies and the community. So looking forward to seeing what people are doing in the next 3 months. And
we're going to give the airtime over to 4 of our founder members today to share. We had more. We couldn't fit them all in, but we'll revisit some of those other ones very soon. Maybe just worth to spend a minute before we head over to some of our members. For me to maybe ask you, Kevin, again, what was the real reason behind setting up the program? Because I know this is something that we talked about for a while, and we came together and worked hard to put a program together that could open it up to more people. Why was that important to you, Kevin?
Well, I think it was important to me, Chris, because I charted my own wealth and did my own things in my own way. Didn't have a guide, didn't have a mentor, and took me quite a long time, even though I put full on energy into it. And I've been coaching high income people, business owners, and high income employed people for a long time. And I noticed that the higher the income and the more successful people are, they want to dive in and get some immediate results in one area of their life. But sometimes the things that they should have done, they just didn't do. They didn't get the basics done. And I often refer to that as almost like playing golf. I was talking about playing golf tomorrow, and it'll be obvious to anybody I'm not a golfer. But had I really been smart enough to get lessons from the beginning, to get the right foundations from the beginning, it would have been so much more different. And this is the same with wealth. And I just realized that even though I've been acting as a coach, kind of like an FD, financial director, to very successful people who just want to do better and better and better, didn't really have a program that was a step-by-step that anybody could follow. It was almost me interacting with the families and saying, well, let's do this first, this next, almost in a way that I thought would work for them. And with your help, Chris, and we wouldn't definitely have not done it without you and your insights, we've managed to create something that can be followed by anybody. And that means we can get that 50,000 people that I so want to help get to a place of financial independence without paying the sort of fees people have paid to me. It's not about me. We're not charging enough for this to be about me. We're charging enough just to make people feel they can take the right action, get the right education, have a little bit of cost for some support, as you'll hear there's some good things been happening, and make some great connections in a place where it's a safe harbor. And I think probably the overriding word that doesn't necessarily come out for contributors today, Chris, but I think if I was summarizing it afterwards, it would be trust, wouldn't it? I'm trying to create a place where everything is about doing things in a way where you can be trusted and you can trust the people that we're connecting with. And that probably holds people back because they don't want to be wrong. They don't want to feel like they'd make mistakes. They don't want to feel like they're being sold to. So the integrity behind what we do, the double money back guarantee, the fact that my reputation's on the line, just makes people, I hope, feel like this is a real place where trust is the watchword of everything we do. And, it'd be great to get a few more people just to round it up to 100 key members. And I think there's a few spaces left. I think you know how many we've got left. But just would be great to finish that off with that cohort of 100. So we got a perfect cohort and then move on to the next one in several months' time. And we bring people in blocks of 100 so that we can really see them all working and collaborating and growing together and keeping each other in check and, doing all the good things we're going to hear about.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We do have some spaces, but probably I'd say about 18 as we record the podcast and just coming up to the end of July. So that will be the cut-off point. So there's still an opportunity. If you're listening now, you do think that the foundation program is right for you. If you feel you've been drifting, you need some accountability, you need a plan, and you want the support of myself, Kevin, and the other members, then the foundation program might just be for you. So Kevin, shall we head over to the first of our members, which is Louise, and listen to some of the things that she's been up to?
Look forward to that.
Okay, so I'm with Louise Wrighton, Foundation member. How are you, Louise?
I'm good, Chris. How are you today?
I'm very, very well indeed. Now, Louise, may I just ask you, the reasons behind joining the Foundation programme, first and foremost?
Yeah, sure, Chris. Well, I just turned 50 earlier this year. I guess, any milestone birthday is a time to reflect. And I just started to think about, think ahead to retirement and what I want that to look like. And I started to think about, well, how could I become financially independent earlier than normal retirement age? How could I maybe retire earlier or have a different pattern to my life than, work full on, which is what I've done for the last 28 years and then stop. And that didn't really appeal to me. So I came across Kevin and WealthBuilders, and I saw that you were working with Kevin to launch the foundation program. And what really appealed to me was the systemized process. So I would say I was already doing parts of the wealth building, parts of the foundation program in little pockets. But this was the first time I'd seen someone bring it together in, a systematic process, a process that one could follow, that was logical. You could tick the boxes, you could get everything done, get peace of mind that you'd done the right things, and then move on to the next part of building your wealth. So there's some of the key reasons that I joined, Chris.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and it's only been a couple of months, hasn't it? It feels like a lot longer, but we've definitely been, through at least several steps already. So what are some of the actions that you've taken since joining, Louise?
Yeah, I've been pretty busy, Chris, as I know you know. So, I still work full time. I'm in a global corporate role. So, this is all in my kind of downtime, if you will. But, it's a real priority for me. I've taken actions relating to be honest, to the foundations, to the roof and to the 7 pillars of wealth. But the biggest actions I would say are around 3 of the wealth pillars. So the first and arguably the most fundamental action I've taken is in the pensions pillar, which is pillar number 2, because I know them off by heart. It's my decision to set up a SSAS pension, a small self-administered scheme, and to transfer an old defined benefit pension into this once it's approved, hopefully in a few weeks' time by HMRC. Now, I see this as being absolutely key to my overall wealth plan because it allows me to do a number of things. Firstly, I'll be able to make loan backs to my limited company, which invests in buy-to-let property. So my pension will become the bank, really, that lends to my company, but at a lower interest rate than I could get with other options, like bridging finance, for example. So effectively, my SSAS will be helping me to grow my property portfolio and my buy-to-let business outside of my pension. And I'll be making other investments with my SSAS, but crucially, I'll be in control of the growth of my pension fund rather than leaving that to somebody else to take care of. And that really appeals to me, and that feels right to me at this point in my life, with my level of business experience and life experience. So I feel good about that decision. I'm very excited about what that will do for my wealth and our wealth as a family. I think the biggest impact on our family wealth will come from the legacy aspect of the SSAS. So the fact that the SSAS is a trust, which my family will benefit from after I've gone. So it doesn't die with me like some pensions do. And that's very, very important to me. So the second big area is a bit outside the box for us, at least. But we decided to leverage the home capacity pillar number 1, and taking a lodger. So we still have cold feet from time to time about whether this is the right thing to do, but we are going for it. We're going to utilise the government's rent-a-room scheme, which allows us to make £7,500 a year free from income tax from renting out a room in our family home. So we're now working on getting a spare bedroom with an ensuite bathroom ready for probably September time. It's been a big decision for our family. It's really different for us. Our girls are really keen. We've got 2 children. And in fact, my youngest daughter came up with the idea because we've really involved them in these conversations and in our wealth building journey, right from the start. And I guess at the end of the day, I've been quite inspired by the FIRE movement, which started in the US, financial independence, retire early, for anyone that's not heard of FIRE. But, that really challenged me to think differently, to get out my comfort zone with regards to doing, pretty much whatever it takes to achieve financial independence. So we are about to advertise our room and take in a lodger, and I'll report back, Chris.
Great.
And then the final big area of action I've taken has been to really understand my wealth dynamic and to leverage that to start initiating some additional ideas, particularly in the intellectual property pillar, which is pillar number 6, that'll lead to income streams in the future. So, taking the wealth dynamics test and, really reading into that was quite game changing for me, because I started off thinking, well, the concept of wealth building, it needs a different mindset. It needs a different skill set than the one I'd been using, as a lifelong employee in big companies. But when I really understood my primary profile, which is a star with high dynamo and blaze energies, meaning I'm creative and I like to connect with people and support other people. When I understood all that, the penny started to drop that I can really use this in my wealth building. So what did I do with that realization? I started networking, which I kind of do naturally anyway, but I started some key relationships, some key conversations that are going to help me not only to build my property pillar, but also I'm working on, as I say, some new ideas around intellectual property, creating content to support the wealth building and the SSAS pensions communities that I'll be able to monetize going forward. So it's much slower burn, than the other pensions, like the other pillars, like pensions and property. But it's another income stream, and one that's very suited to my wealth dynamic. So one that I'll be very active in, I think, and very creative around. So the details top secret for now, Chris, but watch this space.
No, that's fantastic. We talk about different areas of leverage, and as you mentioned there, with a full-time job, time is obviously of the essence, but you've managed to really commit to this, and it's fantastic. And if there's one word, Louise, that kind of summarizes what you've gained most from being a member, what do you think that would be?
I think it's connections, Chris. I just really value the community. I've met many people in our foundation program, both face to face. We've done calls, we've done Skype calls, we've got buddy groups. I'm in a couple of different buddy groups. We meet face to face, we meet through Skype. And I think it's that sort of centre community, that sort of the teams behind you really to be successful. And then those connections are actually leading to, ideas, business opportunities, working together, and all of that as well. So I think the connections has been fantastic and a really key benefit of the programme.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. Yeah, the wealth building's definitely a team game, right? You can't do this alone.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that was really great. Hearing the pillars that Louise has really focused on, certainly pillar 2 there with the pension, Kevin, and then pillar 1, home capacity. So bit of a scary move, but engaging the family in that process. And as Louise said, you know, her daughter's actually really quite excited about the idea of bringing in a lodger, and that's going to utilise the rent-a-room scheme where you can generate up to £7,500 a year from that, tax-free.
It's great to involve the family, and I think 2 things to say here specifically. One is do involve other people, and part of the really interesting story for all of our members, Chris, is the fact that they get so much from their wealth dynamic. They understand their own compass point, where they should be facing to create most value. And you can do the wealth dynamics of your partners, and I've done the wealth dynamics on my own kids, so I know how they best interact with things now they're in their 20s and they're ready for all of this stuff. But it's just good to get the whole family involved. And in that way, when you've got the support, not just of the community, your buddy, you, me, but also the family, it makes that sort of feeling that might be maybe initially felt a little bit risky, but in fact it isn't. Because in truth, you know, it's the illusion of risk. The more you crave security, the more elusive that security becomes, because you get locked into the dependency culture, depending on a job, depending on something that you ultimately can't control. So what is clear to me for Louise is she is now in control, and she will build her own certainty. And she's really, she's really taken it to heart, hasn't she? In 3 months?
Well, you know, having a clear plan and having that real strong reason why, we always say it's step 1, it's module 1 in the program is knowing your why, because when you really connect with that, then that is the catalyst and you become unstoppable.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to stop Louise.
Yeah, and I like as well, she mentioned with Wealth Dynamics how that's actually helped her now look at how she could create some IP, and she's now working on something around Pillar 6.
But she's getting all of these ideas because she's a sponge, isn't she, for knowledge, and that's part of having a very strong creative element to a Wealth Dynamic. Mind you, some of this stuff will be new to listeners who don't know these things, Chris, you know, the Wealth Dynamics and the different use of the language of pillars and so on. So I hope for those people who are considering looking at it for the first time, don't get too bogged down in the language, just hear the excitement of what people are doing, and they're doing this in a few short months.
Okay, well, let's head on over to our next 2 members now. So let's have a listen for John Dale and Henry Austin. Okay, so welcome to Wealth Talk, John.
Hi, Christian. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. Now, John, what was the reason behind you joining the foundation program initially?
Well, in the background, I've owned a couple of businesses and I'm a property developer. And I've seen a lot of training courses and mentors and people saying, oh, come and work with me, come and do this, I'll make you a millionaire. And I've never bought into it. I had a conversation with Kevin over the phone because he was introduced to me from somebody. And I really bought into the idea of what he was doing. Initially, it wasn't about joining the foundation program. It was more about my SSAS and what I wanted to do. Off the back of that, I saw the invite to join the foundation program and thought, right, okay, let's have a go. Let's buy into something that I believe in. And haven't looked back since. Absolutely love it so far. So thank you, both of you.
No, you're very welcome. And what have been some of the actions that you've taken since joining? I know it's only been a couple of months or so, but you've been pretty busy doing lots of things.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing for me was you made us all do the dynamic profiler. When you did it, if I'm honest, I was like, really? It's a program. It's not going to tell me about me. I know who I am, and I really didn't. I turned out I was a creator and my mind wanders and goes all over the place. So since learning that, it's kind of how to control that and how to put my time in place. So the 3 things that I always go back to now is, since joining, I've got a plan of my financials, of where I need to be and where I am, what action I need to take to get there, and when I'm going to do that, and accountability as well between yourself, Kevin, and the group members. So I'm on track. I've done everything I've set out to do so far. So if we keep going, we'll hit my target. And the best part of that is a lot of things we used to tell our clients to do, I've now done for myself. So I've organised all my debits and done everything. Probably saved myself about £200 a month overall. I've put I can't believe as a financial advisor, as you guys would call it, the roof wasn't in place. So I've done plenty of power of attorneys for all my clients. I've done plenty of trusts for all my clients. We put everyone's life cover into trust, but somehow I didn't do my own. So all of that's now done. and my SSAS is in the process of being sorted out as well. And I think you guys in making right, okay, you got to. I think doing it as a step-by-step program is really good, because it's just one thing at a time, then, isn't it? It's not, I need to do this, I need to do this. Because if you'd have spoken about investments as well, I wouldn't have done my roof. I'd have gone straight to the investments bit.
Yeah.
And ignored probably the important part of it. So well done. I think it's working really well so far.
And with Foundation member Henry Austin, welcome to Wealth Talk, Henry. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Christian.
So, Henry, would you mind sharing with us what your reasons were for joining the Foundation programme?
I suppose my main reason, Christian, was really to give me the tools and knowledge to be able to review the strategy that I've basically been pursuing over the last 14 years or so. It's very easy to get caught up in one particular model and strategy. And for me, that's been property. I've spent a lot of time and money investing in myself and education and implementing different models in the sort of broad property sector. I'm very conscious that although my property interests are spread across different pillars, it is very property centric, and just really wanted to review things, take a step back and see if there's anything that basically I didn't know.
That's great. And what are some of the positive actions that you've taken as a result of joining the programme, Henry?
One of the first actions I've done is to go through the debits process and really to review all the costs, sort of personally and across the portfolio. And that was a bit of an eye-opener, to be honest. It's some of the costs, mortgages and such like, I've been very good at. Others I've probably let slip a bit. And it's good to have that kick up the proverbial to go through some of those more mundane tasks. And very glad I did, because I've saved almost $2,000 a year, or projected to save that sort of money, particularly having reviewed energy costs and other costs, including bank charges, life insurances or insurances rather, and so a couple of subscriptions that really we weren't getting good value from. And we're also in the process of investigating PPI. Done that before, to be honest. I'm not actually aware of ever having had PPI, but I thought it would be worth going through the process again. So yeah, very, very glad I actually took that, did that, and looking forward to making the savings.
That's fantastic. And what about some of the other actions?
So we've got a buddy group, and very interesting to connect with the guys there, particularly with different and complementary wealth dynamics. I've previously done a wealth dynamics profiling and was very surprised to find that my profile had changed quite considerably. So it's been really interesting learning more about that, and also working with other people, learning more about me, I suppose, as well as how other people work. And I really see the value of the buddy group going forward, and look forward to working with those guys in the months to come.
Well, I know it's only been a couple of months so far, Henry, but what are some of the other benefits that you feel you've gained from the programme?
I've already mentioned earlier about that sort of high-level review. Something I've always struggled with was really managing my SSAS and the personal funds whilst I've been looking for development opportunities to progress myself. So I mentioned this on a call with Kevin a couple of weeks ago. I was very reassured to hear his answer. Basically, I've got some funds in my SSAS in cash, and also in personal accounts that I'd sit in doing nothing, which is really niggling me, I suppose, for want of a better word. And I didn't want to put them into the stock market for fear of any short-term corrections. I needed it to be liquid to take any advantage of any opportunities that may come along in the property world. Basically, Kevin reassured me that that's probably the best thing to do, is just keep those funds liquid and just take the longer-term view.
Yes, I remember that was on one of our group coaching calls just a couple of weeks back, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
So for you, Henry, if there's one key thing, one word that sums up the Foundation programme for you so far, what would that be?
I suppose if it was a single word, it would be leverage, Christian, and really leveraging others' knowledge and experience.
Well, thanks very much for sharing with us today, Henry.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess the big wins there definitely coming from debits, with £2,000 from Henry and about £200 a month from John.
So pretty much £2,000 each. I mean, that's incredible, isn't it? Just by a little bit of focus on something that we ask them to do in some key areas of their life. And the real big win for this is there are so many places, Chris, where you can find out different ways where you could save money on the B, which is the bills, and the D, which is the debt. And the other stuff is a little bit more difficult to find. But what nobody's teaching out there, which is where I think we're absolutely fundamentally different, is whenever you save money, you've got to put that money to work. So the key skill for both John and for Henry, which both of them will nail 100%, is the reallocation of the saving to build wealth. not just to save money and go, hey, I saved some money. So it's that leverage, isn't it? It's the impact of that, which helps you create more. And that's the whole part of the wealth building process that we talk about: creating, building, and protecting wealth. And all of that runs through the very essence of what we do. So both have demonstrated so ably the creation stage. And I hope they'll go on to show, it's obviously too early yet to see exactly what they do to build their wealth. But it's obvious that they obviously both will, in terms of, whether it's into their SSAS or whether it's into building investments or whatever they choose to do. And maybe it's a bit early for them to say that, but it's very clear they've got options that money will serve to help them carry on growing, as opposed to just money in the bank account that stays idle and isn't poised for something that I know was important to Henry, which is have some money, but sometimes felt a bit bad about money not working all the time. But the big thing about getting ready is you're always looking for those opportunities, that one opportunity, that one idea, that one relationship. And I think he was reassured by that when I said, don't worry if your money's not working 100% all the time. It's that you're getting ready. And when you're ready, you'll find opportunities which will dwarf the returns you'll be getting just by sticking it in cash or sticking it on the stock market.
And it's worth remembering that we are only 2.5 months into the program. So we've gone through some of the early modules, and these, of course, have been just getting your foundation in order with the debit and the roofs. Hence why we've heard this a few times. But I think whilst anyone could be listening to the podcast we've been doing, Kevin, we've talked about debits, we've talked about the roof, and in some detail, it's the accountability of being part of a program and others who are posting every day in the Facebook group, this is what I've done, this is what I've saved, here's a website that I've used. And that is geeing other people up to actually get this stuff done.
It absolutely is. I saw a post from somebody today saying, these posts are really encouraging me to get out of drifting, and thank you, keep going, and I think eventually those people who do get stuck for some reason, we're there to try and help them overcome that and get unstuck. And what was interesting with John, very smart guy, professional guy, an IFA too, is saying some of the stuff that he's been encouraging other people to do for years and years and years, he just hadn't got round to doing himself. And it was almost like, well, if we can help an IFA who would normally you'd expect to do these things, but they get stuck in their own world, a bit like cobbler's shoes, as they say. He was very pleased about the accountability and how he now feels about what he's done, not just for himself, but putting his family first, and I'm very proud of John for actually fessing up to that and saying, hey, I did maybe miss a trick, but now I've taken care of it.
Yeah, and that's a comment that's come up many times actually over the last few weeks, is it's just been something sitting there waiting for me to do it, mostly wills and things like that. So just getting these things done is giving people a really good feeling of security and achievement, and they're ready now for the next stage.
It's going to be great to hear, in 3 months' time what they've actually done, particularly with the amount of money that both John and Henry have saved. So fascinating next time we hear from them, I guess.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I think we've got time to squeeze in one more of our founder members' stories. So let's have a listen now to Rupert Day. Hey, welcome, Rupert, to Wealth Talk. How are you?
Very good. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Rupert, you joined us in the initial launch back in May. And what was your reasons for joining the program?
I'd been aware of Kevin and having read his book. And also, I just liked the holistic approach to WealthBuilders. The way it actually just questions what you're doing in several different areas. I think probably a lot of people have been doing maybe one area or two areas, but it's very good. It's a holistic approach. And I thought joining a foundation did two things really. One, it's great to work with other people with common interests and try to help each other. But also just the fact of the amount of scope of hopefully wealth and knowledge that will come from that communication as well. So I thought it was a good fit, one, to learn more about WealthBuilders and the pillars and the way it works, but also just to do that with like-minded people.
Absolutely. And I love the way that you've really taken, all the learnings of the 7 pillars, and maybe you can share a little bit about some of the actions you've taken in those different areas.
Initially, obviously going through the process, again, of interrogation, I guess, through the LPAs, which we've done already, and a will, which we've done already. I was looking at other areas of funding. I thought, well, okay, how can we actually use our pensions? So we're in the process at the moment of just completed the application for our SSAS through Empowered Pensions. and that's going through to the HMRC as we speak. So that is really a way of actually trying to use our pensions through different asset classes. And I think that also comes back to the thinking of wealth builders to not put all your eggs in one basket, but a good way of looking at spreading one's risk. The second one, which again, we're right in the process of doing, is mortgaging our house. It seems an obvious thing. As a business, we run HMOs. I run it with my wife. We've currently got 2. It always comes to the point where you're short of cash and you need to look at leveraging other people's income or looking at joint ventures. But we just looked at the way of actually releasing some, not releasing equity, but mortgaging our house, which we've just completed a rather large extension on and refurb. And that was great because it basically gives us the proceeds now to buy our 3rd HMO, which is just in the process of going through, but also looking at the 4th, which is our sort of target for the end of next year.
We've got Pillar 2 pensions and then Pillar 1 home capacity there. And any other pillars that you've been looking at, Rupert?
Yeah, indeed. One thing, meeting up with Kevin, he's always a good at reminding of maybe what your skills are and basically interrogating what you're good at and what you're not good at. One thing that I've done is looking at my sort of personal IP. I've been a filmmaker for 25 plus years, and in our properties, I market and take photographs and shoot video of all our houses. That really works very well on our websites. So I've just thought, well, okay, why don't I just try and do that for other people? So I'm just about to launch, end of next week, a website which enables me to go out and help other landlords capture nice pictures, maybe do a bit of styling in their properties, and shoot some video as well. So I'll be doing a sort of package for other people to buy into. And it does 2 things really. One, it obviously gets me out and meeting other people and networking, seeing what other opportunities are out there, but also just trying to use my skills to help other people as well.
That's fantastic. No, I think you've made some great strides there, Rupert. And what do you feel that you've gained most from being a member of the foundation program since you joined? If there's one thing that you could pick.
What I love about the foundation program is the fact that it's actually, you can see the momentum building and the network building. And I love the way people are just now communicating with each other and trying to find commonalities and also things that are a good fit. I'm comfortable with the Wealth Builders Foundation, that it's actually done what I was hoping it would do, but also just, I think the sky's the limit. And what I love about it is it just prompts you to take action. And there's so many people in the property world or in the investing world that sit on their hands, and I know Kevin says dithering, but it's great just to see people taking action. And it's something that it spurs me on to take that action. And I think it's a really, really creative future, which I'm looking forward to getting stuck in there.
Okay, so hopefully listening to some of our members there has inspired you. If, like we said at the beginning, you feel you've been drifting, if you feel like you don't really have a plan in place for building your wealth, then perhaps the foundation program is right for you.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning, though, I think, Chris, that it might be easy to presume that the definition of foundation means it's at the beginning. And that's certainly not true. If you listen to what Rupert had to say, experienced guy with property, and the others who've all done different things, and they've come to this journey almost pressing reset, almost doing a stock take, making sure there's a bit of maintenance, like a financial MOT on what they're doing to make sure everything is firing on all cylinders that are possible. So it's not, and I definitely want to repeat this, Chris, it's not a program for wishful thinkers just hoping that they'll get some secret bullet to be able to create wealth in 7 weeks. This is not going to happen. This is serious people committed to wealth, willing to take action, but wanting to know there's a step-by-step process that they can jump in and follow, and that everything they're doing will be maximized. And the results will be spectacular, which is why I'm so confident that giving people a double money back guarantee, look, if we apply that to John and Henry, who saved £2,000 each, and whatever the cost of the course is, that's double already. So there's just massive gains to be had. And of course, we're happy that double money back guarantee really applies, and we'll always be certain that we'll make sure that people are gaining much more than they're costing. And that's because we're very different in our approach. We're not talking about this by selling something or just providing a small piece of education on a course, that we don't care whether you win or whether you lose. This is all about being alongside you and being committed to your wealth in the same way as we're committed to our own. So it's almost like having partners behind you. And if that's for you and you feel that that would help you and you can overcome that initial feeling maybe of who do I trust, maybe the guys who shared their stories have told you about the trust, but rely on the reputation, rely on the money back guarantee, rely on the results you'll get. And if you're in doubt, just give us a call and chat it through, or talk to some of the other students we've got directly. There's nothing to hide here. And I know some people look for something to hide or something being hidden. Is there a bit of snake oil in here, Chris? I wonder. There's definitely nothing there. But, if you're in doubt or you're a skeptic, skepticism is okay. Check that out with other members. If you're a cynic and you think everybody's out to get you, then you're probably not a good fit for us. And we suggest you walk on by and just go drifting as you would do, or DIYing for the rest of your life, which is one way to build wealth, that's sure. But it's not the Wealth Builder way. It's much more about the collaboration, isn't it, Chris?
That's very, very important for us. And of course, every member that does join, we have a one-to-one call pretty much within the first couple of weeks. So we get to understand, certainly I can see if the program doesn't feel like it's the right fit, if it's not going to benefit you, then both you and I, Kevin, we're very, very intent that we want the right people. And if we don't feel that this is going to serve you and provide you value, then there's no place in the program. And that's the best thing for both of us.
Yeah, and we would unwaveringly return money. It's not worth the amount of money we're asking for us to risk this. It's just not going to happen. So I think we've said enough about our integrity, Chris. Others can judge that.
I hope so. The proof is in the pudding. And we said when we launched back in May that we wanted to work with 100 of our members. And we are over 80 now. So we've got 18 places left as we speak now. And the 31st of July is when we've said that we'll close the doors for good on that. So there's just over a week to join as a founder member. And we're not offering the crazy 50% discount that we were back in May, but we are still offering a discount of 25%. So the joining fee is very affordable. And really, it's down to you to decide whether, after having a listen to some of our members and some of the actions that they've taken, whether you would like to be a part of that journey and have the support of us to help you with your own wealth plan.
Yeah, and we have to close it really then, Chris, otherwise we're getting a bit too far behind. It wouldn't be too difficult with your help and my help to catch people up on the initial 3 months. That's really quite easy to do because, as you heard, there's all common things. It's the wealth dynamics. It's getting the debits right. It's about looking at the roof. So, we can accelerate that pretty quickly. So that's not an issue. But as soon as we're getting into the pillars and really focusing on the leverage of every asset that you've got and every ounce of your wealth dynamic, we want the cohort to be moving, pretty much at the same pace so that we can pick up all the lessons, pick up all the things that people need to learn and share that knowledge at the same time with people who are kind of on the same journey. So that's why we'll be running till the end of July, then we'll close it, then we'll run forward for another 3-6 months and then bring in another new cohort of 100 people beyond that. So if you think it's for you and you're ready to stop drifting and get off the fence, come and join us. It'd be great to have you. We won't be offering the discount again and the double money back guarantee applies. So if you feel like it's right for you, give Chris a call or just, press the button wherever Chris sends you and say, yep, feels like it's for me. Let's go.
Well, I know people like to look through information. So we've got all the information for the program at wealthbuilders.co.uk/foundation. You can head over there right now. You can see all of the modules, exactly what they involve. We have a private online membership area, which is where we keep all of our resources for our members. And we have a private Facebook group, which is where all the community, all the conversation, all of the sharing and collaboration is taking place each day. And then we have coaching calls, bi-monthly webinars, and actually a lot of our members are now connecting outside of the group and actually meeting up in locations all across the UK, which is, something that we're really, really pleased to see, aren't we, Kevin?
Well, yeah, and of course, as I get out and about, I'm always posting where I am. So it's very common to have sort of half a dozen people around a table, just having an impromptu, Q&A and making sure that there's nothing that's been kind of left for people to feel uncertain or uncomfortable with, because it's easy to get stuck in your own mind, isn't it, when you just have that one perspective. But as soon as you get the perspective of others, and of course our experience too, then almost always those log jams disappear. And that means every month you're moving forward. And, if you're not sure, have a think back. Look 60 months ago. Where were you 5 years ago? Were you a lot wealthier now than you were then? Or are you just about the same? Maybe you're earning more money in your life, but have you got a lot more to show for it? If you haven't, or you think you could do with an acceleration, then that's what the program's all about.
Great. Well, I think we should leave it at that point. A reminder again, if you want to join the foundation program or just have a look and really be reassured by everything that is involved, head over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/foundation or click the show notes. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of you, Kevin. We'd be absolutely thrilled to have you join us.
Sure. And there's, we're always willing to have a conversation if somebody's got a specific question. So there's no problem with that. But don't delay too long, because 31st is only a few days away now.
Well, I can't wait to get started. And thanks for your time today, Kevin. I look forward to the next episode of Wealth Talk with you.
I look forward to it too, Chris. See ya.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget that we are constantly updating our resources inside the Wealth Builders membership site to help you create, build and protect your wealth. Head over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership right now for free access. That's wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership.